Identity V is primarily a mobile game, and the PC version wasn't released until January 2019, just under a year after the game was released originally on mobile. So Identity V is definitely designed to be more of a mobile game first than it is to be a PC game. So the graphics and the stress that the device you're using to play Identity V is definitely designed towards lower power devices such as mobile phones compared to PCs that are much more powerful. And with each S-tier skin that comes out with its magical effects, its special light up glowing effect, crazy new abilities such as Sculptor with statues going everywhere and new maps, the more that these effects are added to the game, the more difficult it is for your device to handle playing the game. And the Identity V community has been very vocal about how difficult it is for their mobile device to actually run the program properly, either overheating problems or also problems such as battery drain. In some cases, Identity V itself crashes because the phone has overheated too much. I have some tips for you that can make your Identity V experience much better for you and for your device. I am an Android player, but I'm pretty sure that most of these things are applicable towards iOS as well, so please stick around even if you are an iOS player. My first tip is to uninstall apps that you don't use or haven't used for a long time. Now, why would you want to do this? The more apps that you have on your phone, the more background processes your phone could be doing while you're playing Identity V. All of those notifications you get whilst in the middle of a match are great examples of programs running in the background when you're playing the game. By uninstalling all those apps that you don't use or haven't used in a long time, you're improving the chances of those apps not being in the background using up some of your phone's computing power. The more power your phone can use towards Identity V, the better your Identity V experience will be. Let me give you an example of what I mean. Imagine a fireplace. Now, if you had 10 logs and you wanted to warm yourself up, you would want to use all 10 of those logs to put in the fire. Now, if you used only 7 of those logs to put in the fire, and you used the 3 remaining logs to make a wood sculpture or something like this, then you wouldn't have as much power for your fireplace. You wouldn't have as many logs for your fireplace. This is the same kind of idea that your phone would be using when it's trying to send 7 logs towards Identity V and 3 logs towards Facebook or some type of messenger, or maybe that random app that you installed about 5 months ago that you've never touched. Another problem that you may be having is that your phone may be able to handle the game playing at high quality, but not for very long. Let me explain how phones work. Inside of your phone, you'll have a CPU and a GPU. Sometimes they're combined into one thing. And in phones, most of the time they are. In computers, not so much. These are small little chips inside of your mobile device. The CPU handles the little processes that your phone does, and the GPU is what makes all the graphic effects that you see in the games you play. Now, for these components to work, they need electricity. And what does electricity usually create? That's it, heat. The less powerful your GPU and the less efficient that your GPU is, the hotter it's going to get. Usually CPUs and GPUs, when they get to a certain temperature, they'll have a software system that will cut the amount of processes they do by a big percentage to stop them from blowing up or heating up too much and melting. This is why once you've been playing for a long time on your mobile device, you may see that your game is kind of lagging, or you cannot see all of the pictures smoothly. It kind of shows you a picture, then a picture, then a picture of what you're doing, and it doesn't act smoothly. This is probably because your GPU or your CPU has got too hot. They're trying to lower how powerful they're running so that they don't melt. One easy way to fix this problem is to go inside of Identity V itself and turn down the graphics. Now, there are many different options you can choose, and I will show them all here. And you personally need to mess around with these settings until you find a setting that your phone can handle. Sometimes this means lowering the quality by quite a lot, and this means that you might not be able to see all the nice effects you have on your nice S-tier skins. So as I said, for this last tip that I just gave you, this can be a problem because now you can't see all those special sparkly effects and glow up lights on all of your S-tier skins or even on your A-tier skins. So is there a way of fixing this without kind of compromising quality? Yes, there is, with this thing. There are definitely 2 other options. You could either buy a more expensive phone with a powerfuler GPU and CPU inside of them, or you could get a $15 to $20 thing like this. This is called a phone cooler. And I was very skeptical at first to see if this would actually work or not. But I did some tests. Now, my phone is very notorious because it heats up very much. I have a Samsung S9 that isn't really a new phone, but it was a flagship phone back in its day. And one of the problems it has is that it overheats quite quickly. For example, I could be playing maybe 1 or 2 matches, and by then my frame rate would have cut, my FPS, and it will cut and you will see a big quality and lag in the game for most of that time. Also, the battery would drain way too quickly. My phone would usually get to around 45 to 50 degrees, that is very hot for a mobile device, and at that point the FPS would drop and the game would tell me, please lower your graphics quality to be able to maintain a decent frame rate. I did some research and I found this phone cooler. I think it cost me around the equivalent of $15. It has a fan, yes it does, but it also has the similar technology that a fridge has. So by turning electrical current into cold and then exhausting the heat from the machine itself with the fan, it will cool down the back of your device by clipping it onto the back of your phone. And does it work? Spoilers, it does. After clipping it on after this first session that I'm showing here, I actually saw a almost 5-degree drop in temperature, in general temperature. But that was only after clipping it straight on after playing a long game session. Now if you clip it on before you start your game session of Identity V, I was getting temperatures of almost 15 degrees cooler. My phone was at very normal temperatures, so I do really highly recommend you buy something similar to this. There are different types of technology that can cool your phone down. Some of them have just a fan and some of them are like controllers with fans on them. They will also work, but I think the most effective way is one that has a fridge radiator style technology. And they are usually very cheap. One quick tip that I can also give you for playing Identity V is please do not plug in your phone and charge it while you're playing. This will create a lot more heat than it already was creating, and this can really make your phone suffer. This can also make your battery suffer in the long term. So I recommend that you charge your phone before playing the game and not in the middle of the game session. An advanced tip that I have for people who are not afraid to tinker with some of the settings in their phone to make their Identity V experience much better is to go into their battery usage settings in their phone settings. Then find which apps are using more battery. Usually the ones higher on the list are the ones that are using more battery and more power. Then clicking on those apps and then restricting their background usage. Now you don't want to do this for some of the main apps that you use, but any strange apps that you don't use very often or something that you maybe don't need notifications for very often, I would use the background restrict option by clicking on it to make sure that it uses less of your phone's power when you're playing Identity V and generally in other apps as well. The next tip is a very simple one for you to implement, and it's turning on airplane mode. This can affect other different devices in different ways, but I think this might be a good thing to do if you're just playing a short session of Identity V. Airplane mode turns off all mobile data and mobile connection, meaning that your phone has to use less power on these types of components inside of your phone. This will also help your battery last longer so you can play the game for a much longer time. The problem is this does stop people from calling you via mobile, but if you're okay with this and you know you don't get calls very often except from those weird companies, then do turn it on before playing the game and then turn it off after you finish playing the game. You will need to remember to turn on Wi-Fi because without the Wi-Fi you cannot play Identity V. Are there any other tips that I missed that you know about? Any other Identity V things that can help you improve your game quality and make it so that your phone device can handle it? Some people may not have any trouble with these kind of problems because if they have a gaming phone or maybe a higher end flagship phone, but I know that the community in general have been complaining about how their mobile devices suffer quite a lot. So I really think these tips should really help you to stop your phone from melting after Identity V. If you found any of these tips useful, please leave a like on this video and please subscribe if you'd like to know some more tips, tricks, and in general just information that you might not know about Identity V, maybe some hidden secrets too. Take care guys, bye bye.